So now that we're a few weeks into the launch of the Midnight expansion and Blizzard has had a chance to nerf things if they were going to do so, I want to re-go over what is possibly still the best leveling method for Midnight to pretty quickly and easily get a character from level 80 all the way up to level 90 as quickly as possible in a method that is very easy and very simple. And this is going to be a delve AoE mob grinding location in a specific delve on a specific story variant of that delve, and you can legitimately get characters from level 80 to 90 in only a few hours doing this. And if you do it with a specific profession, you can actually make a ridiculous amount of gold that in fact has actually been skyrocketing in how much gold you can actually make doing this, because these specific materials are significantly more expensive right now as I'm recording this than they have been the entirety of the expansion so far. Now, a small disclaimer for this farm: results may vary depending on what class or spec you're playing. Any tank spec is going to be completely fine doing this. They will be able to do it very easily with no difficulties. A good chunk of DPS specs should be able to do this. Pretty much every DPS spec should be able to do this at level 80 and probably up to like level 85, because you generally get weaker as you level up. So those lower 80s, you'll be generally fine with most DPS, but as you get into the later 80s, some DPS may have an issue with this. Some will generally find it pretty easy as well. I've done this all the way from 80 to 90 on a Ret Paladin, and it was completely fine the entirety of the way, but some DPS just may be significantly worse at this just because of how that spec generally plays. Now, the delve this farm is going to take place in is Shadowguard Point, which is in the Void Storm Zone. The story variant you're looking for is Calamitous. Now, if you go and watch this video and you go and check this delve and the story variant is not Calamitous, just wait, it will come back. I'm pretty sure all of the delves in Midnight have 3 story variants, and if I'm not mistaken, they're not randomly cycling, they're just cycling one after the other. So at worst, you'll have to wait a couple days and then it will be back to Calamitous. So just keep that in mind. Have some characters set up for the next time it's going to be Calamitous if you really want to level a bunch up, because again, this farm is so incredibly strong that it is worth the wait to be able to do this farm. And the reason you're waiting for the story variant is because there is just a ton of very easy to kill and squishy elite enemies at the start of this specific story variant of this delve. I think when you're doing this pull, you're getting like 8 or more elites with every pull, and the elites give a lot more experience, and these specific elites again are very, very squishy compared to pretty much any other elite you'll find at that level. So once you enter this delve, make sure to wait a second for Valeera to put down her feast, because you only have to sit and eat for like a second to get her feast buff, which is a 5% increase to your main stats, which is quite a massive buff to just help you kill this much more quickly. You're going to mount up and you're just going to pull the first section of this delve. You'll see in the video, it's very simple to do. You just get on your mount, you pull this first section, you group everything up, you AoE it all down. Once you've killed it all, loot it, right click on your portrait and leave delve. There is also a macro to leave delves more quickly, so if you want to do that, you can, but I still just right click my portrait, leave delve. It kicks you out of the delve. You don't have to reset the delve or anything. You just walk back in. There's no lockouts like in normal dungeons, so you can do this infinitely, and it is very easy to just clear out all the enemies in this first section, leave the delve, re-enter it, and go again. There's really not much downtime at all between doing all of that. Now, a few tips for doing this: I would generally recommend you always have Valeera as a healer. Doing this farm as yourself being a healer and having Valeera as like a tank, I don't think would work very well just because of how the AI of Valeera generally works. I don't think she's going to keep up with you and be able to keep aggro on everything super well. So you're going to want to do this as a DPS or a tank. Have Valeera as a healer. She'll heal you anytime she throws out what are essentially her versions of Brand's healing potions. She always tosses one directly to you, so it hits you instantly, meaning it heals you a good chunk right away, and then does a heal over time, so that'll keep you alive a good amount of the time. And she gives you a buff for the entirety of the delve always that gives you 10% leech avoidance and movement speed. The 10% leech in a massive AoE situation is a lot of healing, and if you've been doing a lot of delves on like main characters, the higher level you have Valeera, the better she's going to do. The more damage she will do and the more healing she will do, so she can actually start to do a decent chunk of damage as well if you have her a much higher level and have some of her curios leveled up. And then also you can use consumables. Since you're leveling up, just go use consumables from the War Within. It will be incredibly cheap on the auction house, so you can get your food buff, you can get your weapon oil, you can get your flask, you could even go pick up some potions as well. All of those will probably be like a few gold a piece at this point, so you can get all of that. That will pretty heavily increase your power. And also make sure to go through your talents and switch out your talent build for something that's going to be much better for this. As I'm doing this on characters, I'm always testing out different things, because just changing a few different points can significantly change your output in a situation like this. Because if you're just using like an endgame Mythic Plus build or something like that, usually that leaves things out because you're not really doing pools this big anywhere in like endgame or Mythic Plus. Dozens and dozens of enemies on your screen can completely change how good some things are. So keep that in mind. There's some ways to optimize stuff to just make this go much faster. And you can do every one of these runs in only a couple minutes. I think on average, you'll probably be at like 3 minutes, maybe a bit longer if you're a tank that's a bit higher level and you start to be a bit weaker. But even at the lowest points, you're probably looking at like 8 to 10% of a level doing this pool. And that's every level from 80 to 90. And that will also be increasing for the more characters you have at level 90, because every character you level up to level 90, you will get another 5% bonus experience to the entirety of your account, up to 25%. Keep in mind, in the footage in this video, I only have 20%, so you can get up to 25% if you want to keep leveling characters past your 5th level 90. So you could even be getting more experience from this farm. And then if things like the Dark Moon Fair is here or other holiday events that give experience boosts, go pick those up. Those will also increase the speed at which you level up doing this farm. And on top of all of that, if you want to make quite a lot of gold, you can go pick up tailoring and very quickly set up characters to make a lot of gold doing this. So essentially what you'd be doing, you would get your level 80 character to Silver Moon. You would go pick up tailoring. It's only a few hundred gold to get tailoring and get midnight tailoring. And then what I would generally recommend is you do the first handful of crafts for tailoring, because not only will these first really cheap crafts for tailoring basically cost no gold. I think you could get to like level 50 tailoring through just crafting with only spending like 500 to 1,000 gold. And a lot of that you can make back by just selling the things you're crafting. But doing all of this crafting will give you the first time craft, which will both give you knowledge points and experience. And the amount of experience is essentially like a quest completion or a little bit more. So if you go do that, you can get pretty much a full level from level 80 up to 81 just by doing these initial really cheap crafts for tailoring. You'll get a bunch of knowledge points, you'll get your levels so you can unlock your specializations, and then you're just going to go into the specializations that first off give you more cloth drops, and you keep putting more points into that so you can get the higher quality cloth drops. And then one of the other specialization trees allows you to now get Sunfire and Arcana Weave cloth drops, and that's primarily what you want to go into. If you can get all of those, you will then be getting a ton of cloth drops. So after you've done all of those initial crafts of tailoring, then I would also recommend you go download an add-on called MyU's Knowledge add-on. You'll be able to easily find this on CurseForge, and all this does is it adds a little box with any professions you have that you can click on. You can move it anywhere on your screen. You click on it, it will show you where to go get all of the knowledge points you can currently get. And if you click on them, it will also put a marker on your map. And if you have TomTom, it will also put an arrow to that on your map. You don't necessarily need that, but it's super easy to do this. And essentially all you're doing is you're looking for all of the purple knowledge points shown in this add-on, because these are all the one-time treasure pickups in all the zones. So all you're going to do after you did those initial crafts is fly to all the zones, get all the knowledge point pickups, and after you've done that, done all those initial crafts, go pick up all those one-time knowledge treasures, you will have enough knowledge points to go into the additional cloth drops to get the higher quality cloth drop, and then go into the specializations that drop Sunfire that allows you to now get Sunfire and Arcana Weave as drops as well. So you'll get 3 different types of cloth that can all also drop as the higher quality of cloth. And when you're doing this AoE farm, you will be getting a ton of gray items to vendor. You will be getting a ton of green and blue BOE items you can either disenchant, vendor, or maybe sell in the auction house. And then you will also be getting a ridiculous amount of cloth drops and Arcana Weave and Sunfire. As I'm recording this video, which is on the 20th, these cloth drops are significantly more expensive than they've ever been. Both Sunfire and Arcana Weave for either one of the qualities is at like 150 gold per piece right now. So you can make a ridiculous amount of gold while doing this farm. And the most surprising part about this is that this has not been nerfed. You may have seen about this really early on in the first couple of days of early access where people figured this out and were doing it, and it was ridiculously strong then. Has not been nerfed yet. Still gives the same amount of experience it always has, still gives the same amount of drops it always has, but this farm is actually significantly better now because people are much more likely to have multiple level 90s, which gives you more experience, which makes this farm better. But the amount of gold you can make in this farm is actually higher right now than it has ever been in this expansion because of how expensive these cloth drops actually are right now. So this is not only potentially the fastest method to leveling characters from 80 to 90 right now, it is also one of the best solo gold farms currently in the expansion because of Sunfire and Arcana Weave Cloth being so ridiculously expensive. So I would definitely recommend going and doing this farm sooner than later if you want to level up characters very quickly and make a ridiculous amount of gold doing it. And like I mentioned, setting up your tailor to get these cloth drops is very easy. It'll take like 30 minutes tops to do that first bit of crafting that's super cheap, and then go pick up all of your one-time treasures, and you'll have all of the knowledge points you need, and you're good to go. And then you can go just farm that character, get them 80 to 90, probably a few 100,000 gold in that amount of time as well. So an absolutely absurd farm that I would definitely recommend doing before it maybe gets nerfed in the future. But that's a lot to go over, so thanks for watching.